sequence with 116, 132 and so on. So I guess this is not the best tool to use then. Okay, then let's use Ableton's settings instead. Download the audio effects at simple delay. We can press off sync and set the delay we want to work with a kind of stereo widening effect, but it will also make sure that your synth will pop out in the mix more than it would have if you wouldn't have put the effect on. And it's something I use in my tracks quite extensively. So let's see now. I'm also going to use a plugin that I'm currently developing, the Dream. It's not yet done. It needs firstly a guided user interface. As you see now, it's just a bunch of normal parameters that you change. So let's see now if I can get some cool groove going on. Alright, let's see now. Firstly, remember I talked about the kick earlier. It's put on a G. So I'm going to start with having the stab on G2. Going probably to decrease the note 1 octave. And a quick way to make sure that you will decrease the note 1 octave is by selecting the note, pressing Shift and pressing the downwards key on the keyboard. It will move exactly 1 octave down from the previous location. Once again, activate the preview for the piano roll. Another thing to remember is that you can zoom in on the piano roll to get either more zoomed out key roll or piano roll, or a more zoomed in piano roll, which will make sure you don't actually mispress any of the notes you want to play out. Going to try work. Not sure if I should use an arpeggio or use this as stab. It's a hard choice to decide right now. I guess I will come to this later. For the moment I'll just name this stab, change the color, deactivate it and process my next sound instead. I'm going to use Diversion. It's a good synth and it got a pretty raw sound compared to Silent. This uses, as I said, oversampling to get rid of aliasing. And you can set the number of oversampling here. Pretty much what it will do, you know that Ableton operates under a certain sample rate. I have 4400, which means 44.1 kilohertz. And when you oversample a signal, it means it will increase that value which your DAW works under, and increase it by a factor of 2, 4 or 8, which will mean it will get a more accurate signal reconstruction. If you try to think an analog signal, it will be able to make a more accurate recreation of an analog signal the more you increase the oversampling. But this is quite CPU extensive, which means that if you increase it to 8 and put in like 2 oscillators with 2 unison voices, it will automatically be quite heavy. So if I, for instance, now just going to change this to mix first, press 3 keys to get a chord, you will see that the CPU counter will jump up to 19, and that's kind of heavy. If you think that you got 5 instances of this synth, it will quite fast hit the maximum limit of the CPU counter. So it's something you need to control. Normally I just increase or decrease the keys here. It's the same as polyphony and in silent. Now I'm going to create something. In diversion we have a wavetable oscillator, which means I can construct a signal that I want to use. My basses, well, they are different, I guess, from time to time, but I like to use frequency modulation at some point. To get a more metallic sound, and then just use a filter to bring down that kind of metallic sound that we heard earlier on. What I'm usually also doing is using some sort of distortion. And then, since this equalizer is using a non-linear model, I can get some sort of saturated harmonics that may or may not sound good. What I'm also doing is going to create an envelope just to get some sort of initial attack to the filter. And that is something you need to figure out on your own, but it's pretty much the same. You bind an envelope, increase how much it should affect a certain part of the synth. Here I'm going to affect, as said, the filter of this bus, and you see it will mark with a blue spot how much I'm increasing. And I want the decay to get a yeah, I guess that's something I can use, perhaps. Okay, let's not just spend too much time with this. So I'm going to increase the bend. What this means is that I'm be able to pitch modulate from the MIDI data when I want some change, kind of the changes dubstep uses. And well, yeah, you know, the most house music have some kind of pitch shift going on to keep the excitement of the track up. Let's see what I mean right here now. If I put in some MIDI data, yet again, Control Shift M, I can press this envelope box to get some sort of modulation control panel up here. Here I have MIDI control with pitch bend, and that's the control I want to affect. But first I need to create some sort of pattern here. And remember what, yet again, the kick is in G, so I'm going to try to get a bass that goes in G as well. Oopsie daisy. If you want to make an active copy, you have to select the entire bar and then press Ctrl D to duplicate to make sure the spacing gets equal along the line. And as you remember, I put in a stab earlier. I'm gonna try to make them work together. Now let's see if I can't use the pitch modulation. If you press E when you have selected the MIDI data, you get the modulation box to show up, and since I increased the pitch bend in my synth here, I'm able to increase the modulation at its peak value up here to 12 notes, which means 1 octave. So if I go ahead and play this up, you will hear it will pitch up, and it's something like Dutch house uses quite commonly. I'm going to try play around with some. Okay, yeah, the original bass sound is not, well, it doesn't sound that unique. A simple way in Ableton to get a more distorted sound, I like distortion as you might notice, is to put in OT. I love this plugin, and I guess I misuse it, but if misuse it actually brings something good, I figure it's nothing bad. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to replicate it 3 times and play a little bit with my filter. So let's see now. For each copy of this clip, I will show you soon enough. It's quite commonly each 9 bar. Actually, will say when I consolidate this clip, it will just make sure I get a copy of the MIDI data and be able to change it again. It's quite commonly that you try to make changes each 5 bar. So what I'm going to do over here is do a slightly different approach of the 5 bars that I used earlier. Remember displacements, it doesn't just work on percussion, it works on everything. It will create groove in your tracks, and it's something you have to learn because everything will get so much better when you start using it. Except do not overdo it, because if you introduce too much displacement you will ruin the groove altogether. Play with both length of the MIDI data to make sure it doesn't just fit perfectly on 1/2s, 2/1s, 1/16, whatever. Now we get a common error that will occur in Ableton. As you might hear, when I started the sound over here now, and let's see if I can get this to repeat again, it's quite hard. Over here, at the end of the track, I will just increase this to this maximum value. I think I would get 4 there. For some reason, if you stop playing over here, as you see, when I start playing this clip down here, it should be at a normal value, but for some reason, I hope it will occur now, it will start at the same pitch value as I had over here. It's not just because of the pitch bend glide that I might have introduced here.